Thank you for tuning in once again to his Vine and Victory podcast. My name is Kurt Olson. I'm your host. I'm coming to you on the early afternoon of April 30th, 2025. And I'm just going to jump right into a variety of issues I want to bring to your attention. And I'm going to start with the U.S. and Iran. So, the Trump administration is negotiating with the Iranians right now. He is someone, or this is a conversation about trying to deal with Iran's nukes. And of course, Barack Obama did something too, and obviously wasn't very fruitful because they still have nuclear capability. And Israel wants to just take care of it themselves. And Trump wants to talk. And the interesting aspect of this is even the Iranians did want to kill him last fall. And so don't know what's don't know what the goal is, because if this just ends with Iran still having nuclear capability and Israel, 3, 5, 7 years down the road saying we got to handle this ourselves, um, what will we have achieved? So the jury's out on this. It will be interesting to see what happens. India and Pakistan, if you're not following this, you should. Um, about 10 days ago or so, there was a terrorist incident from Pakistan into Kashmir. Now, Kashmir is in northern India, a long time a location of controversy between India and Pakistan. And um, after the incident in question happened, you had India immediately respond with revocation of visas at a certain point. In fact, there were some families that were just split because some had visas from India, some had visas from Pakistan or somewhere else, and things people weren't able to connect with one another. I read a story involving a family that had a marriage going on, and some people did. Everyone didn't have visas from the same country, so that's going. So that's going on. Some of the actions even involve water, a couple other things, and genuine tension because you have bullets flying across the border at times now between the Indian military and the Pakistani military. And what makes matters worse, both of these countries have nuclear weapons. That's why it's worth your attention. Late last weekend, the U.S. Navy, USS Harry Truman, and I don't know if it was the weekend or Monday, sometime very recently, for the last 6 weeks, we've been involved in military conflict with the Houthis. The Houthis are an Iranian proxy, just like Hamas is in Gaza, just like Hezbollah is in Lebanon. The Houthis are an Iranian proxy in Yemen on the Arabian Peninsula. And there was a time very recently when the USS Harry Truman was turning the aircraft in a way to avoid being hit by something from the Houthis. And while that was going on, some folks on deck were beginning to get an F-18 Hornet into its proper location. And when the aircraft moved a certain way, both that piece of equipment that pulls the plane and the actual plane went right into the drink. And let's just hope um, the Chinese, the Iranians, the Russians, or some other enemy of the United States does not get really creative and find a way to steal technology or other things. Hopefully, the salt water can um, cause uh, degrading of things very quickly. Um, but that happened. Uh, just not a very bad moment, or just a very bad moment for the U.S. Navy when that happened. The Trump factor in Canada. Now, Canada had an election on Monday. The two main candidates were Mark Carney from the Liberal Party, and I'm going to call him Pierre. He has a very French last name, and I have never heard it pronounced, and I don't want to butcher it. So Pierre was the lead candidate for the Conservative Party, and Canada in most parliamentary nations, they have multiple parties that have a factor in elections, and that's the case in Canada as well. And the Liberal Party became very unpopular under Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau's popularity sank miserably. They had like a 21% deficit in popularity at one point, and Justin Trudeau resigned, and Mark Carney comes in and is named head of the Liberal Party. And this is where Donald Trump becomes a factor. Once Donald Trump is elected here in the United States, one of the various things that happened in between the election and his inauguration, he makes some comments about annexing Canada. And when that happened, it immediately put the Conservative Party candidate in a bad spot. He had to attempt to placate people in his own party who support Donald Trump, but also attempt to distance himself from him. And it also thrust him into a spot where he should have been spending a whole lot more time, consistent time, just talking about the failures of the Liberal Party. All of a sudden, the Liberal Party had a reason to circle the wagons, rally the troops, and win by snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. And that's what happened on Monday in Canada. And just a Trump has these moments where he commits unforced errors. And that's what this was. It was an unforced error. Didn't have to be said, didn't need to be said. And there are parts of MAGA that love everything that he says and does. And this is one of those moments where he didn't serve, especially a party in a foreign country that we should be more closely aligned with than the Liberal Party in Canada. Um, didn't do any favors to himself or us. Now Trump argues, "Oh, I think I can get along with the Liberal Party candidate really fine." That still doesn't justify opening your trap and injecting yourself into their election and putting the Conservative Party candidate in a very difficult spot. Now, let me just say this as well. Pierre made some strategic errors. He had people who were recommending to him use podcasts, use alternative media, and basically what he relied on was straight rallies and public rallies and traditional media. And Donald Trump didn't do that here. He went on Joe Rogan. J.D. Vance went on Joe Rogan. He did other podcasts, and where Donald Trump listened to his son Barron say, "Dad, I really think you need to do this to reach people my age." Pierre up in Canada did not do that. So there is a percentage there that was an impact in this election. How much? I don't know. Higher ed. Ever since the anti Semitism protests on some college campuses in this country, especially the ones that are high priced off the charts, the Ivy Leagues, some of the other high priced schools in this country, as soon as those anti Semitism uh, activity went on, this was going to be something Trump addressed. Now, he went after Columbia first, he's after Harvard now. There's a lot of things going on here right now. And Harvard's trying to make the case, well, we should be able to have free expression and free speech on our campus. Okay, free speech, yes, is about speech that you like and you don't like. Okay. But the question ultimately becomes, has are people who are on your campus with a visa from another country engaging in activity that supports terrorism or terrorists, and are they committing crimes? And in some cases, that has indeed happened. And the State Department has revoked more than 4,000 student visas right now. And one of the other factors in this, in my opinion, should be China, or China and Qatar. The Free Press did a story just the other day on Qatar and China having dumping a lot of money into American colleges. And you also had a story late last week out of the Daily Caller that indicated that there's a college in California that is getting some scrutiny for the level of influence China has there. And where I sit, after we get rid of the anti Semites, I would much prefer we focus on the Chinese intel agents. Because there are students in this country of Chinese descent who are nothing but a spy for the Chinese Communist Party, period. And I would much prefer we focus on that kind of thing than basically every student from who's on here on a foreign visa. Um, so that's going on, and that's a factor right now around the country. Um, and all of this also comes as Harvard just yesterday produced a 300-page report that is focused on their response to the college protests. And just a quick little summary. These are 5 data points from that study. And this is Jews at Harvard. 39% felt not at home on campus. 26% felt physically unsafe. 49% felt unsupported in their well being. 73% felt uncomfortable expressing political opinions. And 60% experienced discrimination, stereotyping, or negative bias. So that comes from Harvard. And there's a lot going on there that is worthy of your time. The next one is Colorado House Bill 1312. This is a bill that is one of the biggest attacks on parental rights in a long time. It basically says if a parent uses a person's name assigned at birth or the accompanying pronouns, it's an act of discrimination and a violation of civil rights. And it's been passed in the House, headed to the Senate. If this bill becomes law, guaranteeing there is a lawsuit that comes from it and it lands before the Supreme Court. And speaking of the Supreme Court, Montgomery County, Maryland. A week ago Tuesday, there was a hearing before the Supreme Court that was focused on something that happened in Montgomery County Public Schools in Maryland. Now, the setting is this. In 2022, the district wants to bring a number of books that deal with LGBTQ into the lower grades, pre-K, kindergarten, elementary grades, and parents are like, oh, no, you don't. Based on religious grounds, we're opting out. So before the following school year happened, the Montgomery County School Board, in their infinite stupidity, decided to eliminate the opt out option. And when you had parents protest en masse, Christians, Jews, and Muslims, you had a lawsuit that surfaced. And this is the issue that's before the Supreme Court. Now, at least one Supreme Court justice, Justice Kavanaugh, lives in Montgomery County. And I want to share with you what he had to say about this in a small piece that ran in Newsweek. I guess I'm surprised that this is the hill we're going to die on in terms of not respecting religious liberty. Pretty strong statement there by the justice. And the school responded to, after the court hearing and all that was done, Newsweek, probably sent an email or had a phone call with some questions. This is the response Newsweek gets. As our counsel told the court, MCPS's policy is grounded in our commitment to provide an appropriate classroom environment for all of our students. We believe a curriculum that fosters respect for people of different backgrounds does not burden the free exercise of religion until such time as you are basically stuffing transgenderism down the throats of kids who have parents who don't want that for their kids. Something's got to give. Something's got to give. Next story is the abortion pill. And this was a story that was just yesterday, the 29th. It's in the Daily Signal, and it's a story on the abortion pill mifepristone. Nearly 11% of women had serious adverse reactions within 45 days of the abortion. That's 22 times the complication rate that the FDA claims on the drug label. Why do I get a feeling more is going to be coming from this, and there will probably be a lawsuit that lands before the Supreme Court on this as well? Last thing I want to share with you is Rainn Wilson. Rainn Wilson, for those of you who are millennials, Gen Z, I'm assuming even Gen X as well, Rainn Wilson is Dwight Schrute on The Office. Dwight Schrute has a podcast, and he recently had Stephanie Ruhle from MSNBC. Now, Dwight Schrute, I've seen many things from him in the past, and he is your standard, stereotypical Hollywood liberal, progressive, left winger. And There's a 2 to 3 minute conversation I'm going to put in the comments to this podcast, and Rainn Wilson, um, will surprise you. I don't want to engage in spoiler alert here, but it's an interesting conversation about credibility of the media. And I'll just leave it with this. There are reasons why the mainstream media in this country has been losing credibility. There are reasons why journalism in this country has been losing credibility. And it's because they don't engage in the relentless pursuit of the truth. Period. End of discussion. Um, so in the comments to this podcast, I am going to leave with you the Rainn Wilson brief comments with Stephanie Ruhle. And I'm also going to share with you kind of a lighter thing. Some guys out in the middle of nowhere, and it looks cold because there's snow in the background. Um, Basically, they're playing fetch with a football with a beluga whale. It runs a couple minutes, kind of cute. So I'll leave that with you as well. Um, Next week is fairly busy for me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a Wednesday podcast. If it doesn't happen, I'm striving to get one before the end of next week. And it's just the matter of schedule that's coming up for me and my family. And we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and dropping a column on Sunday as well. If you like what you're reading, please share it. If you like what you're hearing, please share it. And until next time, God bless and goodbye.